I made WiiMote Joycons for Nintendo Switch 2 that work in every single game. Pulling this off was a lot more complicated than I thought, but it was well worth it to beat Nintendo at their own game. Nintendo themselves have made a bunch of retro controllers for Switch, but they still haven't remade their most iconic controller ever, the Wii Remote. The Switch 2 Joy-Cons are a big improvement over version 1, but they're still flat and uncomfortable after a while. But the Wii Remotes? Frutiger Aero Perfection. I searched on my shelves for some, and I found a pair that would do fine. But then a little deeper in I found the perfect pair. But there's one big problem. This is my only pair of Switch 2 Joy-Cons. So if this works, I'll have a one-of-a-kind set of Wii-Cons. And if it doesn't, my Switch 2 is going to be stuck in TV mode only for a while. So, to find out, let's take them apart and figure out a plan of attack. I'm going to start with the blue side, and then if it actually works, we'll do the red later. I've worked on tons of WiiMotes before. They only have 4 screws and a couple clips holding them together. And then you have instant access to the board. We are going to keep these buttons as they are, so it still feels exactly like a Wii Remote. I've repaired more Joy-Cons than I can count, but I've never opened up the Switch 2 versions. There are a lot more clips and screws than in the previous gen, and the HD rumble motor is attached to the back shell. I think we'll put it in the same spot on the WiiMote. The internal layout is very similar to the Joy-Con ones, just with even more screws. And then it pops out. We aren't going to need any of the shell pieces. We only need the motherboard, thumbstick, rail, battery, and the rumble motor. But will it all fit in the WiiMote shell? Because we're keeping the original WiiMote board, so we won't have a huge amount of space left. That being said, if we remove all of these tall components and snip the old vibration motor cradle, I think we can get the Joy-Con board flat on the Wii board. And here's the problem with that idea. I want to replace the A button with the thumbstick, but there's barely any space at the front, and the WiiMote board is in the way. On top of that, the thumbstick ribbon cable is super short, so it can really only sit in one place. We could cut a hole in the Wii board to fit the stick in, but I still don't think the cable is long enough and it would risk destroying the B button on the back side. I'm pretty stumped. Let's switch focus and come back to this later. The other difficult part we need to figure out is the rail. The rail itself is pretty big, so it's going to have to be within this thicker section. We're definitely going to be creating a lot of microplastics today. The side looks like it'll fit the rail, but the middle section also needs to be dremeled to make room for the Joy-Con and its battery. Ooh, this looks really promising. It actually feels pretty good. Thankfully, the Switch 2 Joy-Cons use magnets instead of a sliding rail. This way, the magnets are actually holding the shell together, making it super solid even like this without any screws. Of course, we've lost the button to separate the Joy-Con from the Switch 2, but you can easily pull it off thanks to the length of the WiiMote. Now I think we can tackle the thumbstick problem. The thumbstick is definitely going in place of the A button, but I really don't trust my hands enough to make a clean circle, so we'll need a bit of help from my favorite machine. I don't have any spare WiiMotes in this color, so this has got to work first try. Well, it's close enough. It's a clean circle, but the alignment could be better. I also made it slightly too big. The great thing about making Joy-Cons is that there's 2 of them. I'll do a better job on the second try. The stick needs to fit a tad deeper in so it doesn't get in the way of the board. These chips are also in the way and need to be cut. You've got to be careful here though. A lot of the pins are for the buttons, so we can't accidentally bridge 2 buttons together. Otherwise, we'll have a few problems later. It all fits together well so far. All of the Joy-Con parts have a spot and it feels pretty sturdy. We've already got it looking like a WiiMote Joy-Con, so now we need to actually make it work like a WiiMote Joy-Con. Connecting the thumbstick is probably going to be the hardest part. We need the ribbon cable to be way longer. We could design our own ribbon cable to plug into and extend this one, but that's going to take a lot of time to design, order, and then get made. And unfortunately, solder doesn't stick directly to the ribbon cable. Thankfully, I have a broken Joy-Con 1, and the thumbstick in this uses the same style connector. I hope its sacrifice won't be in vain. Then, with our new connector, we can solder a wire to each pin to basically make our own cable extension. The micro-soldering here is very precise and the solder points are tiny. This definitely needs some UV resin to make sure none of them snap during assembly. Now with that done, we can test to see if I broke anything. Nice. I thought that would work, but I wasn't entirely confident I got the wires in the right spot. Success! Now that we know it works, we can get it stuck in place. I'm only applying epoxy to the outer blue frame thing, so in the future if one of these gets stick drift, I'll still be able to easily replace them with some upgraded thumbsticks. While that cures, we need to finish off the rest of the wiring. By now you've probably wondered how we're going to connect each button since the WiiMote and Joy-Con have completely different button layouts. I've been wondering that too, and I think I have a plan. The D-pad and minus buttons are easy. They can be wired directly to the same buttons on the WiiMote. But for the others? Well, I thought the home button should be capture and plus will be one of the shoulder buttons, with the other shoulder button for B. Then for horizontal mode like in Mario Kart, 2 will be accelerate or A, and 1 will be reverse or B. I think this makes the most sense. It can always be changed down the line. I have no idea what we'll do for the right controller, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I thought it would be a good idea to try and get the WiiMote's blue player number LEDs connected to the Joy-Cons, but after wiring one up, it doesn't work. Blue LEDs tend to require higher voltage than green, and here it seems the Joy-Con's power circuit won't allow for that much power, so we'll have to leave that for another time perhaps. With all of our buttons wired, we can begin the final assembly. I'm using plenty of tape to prevent anything from touching that shouldn't. These are my only Joy-Cons, so I don't have a second chance here. Not bad, not bad. But the HD rumble motor and the battery still need to be plugged in, and their cables are way too short. We need another extension. It's very important to cover the solder joints for the battery wires in particular. If these touch, we could see fire and/or an explosion. So I'm going to encase them in plenty of resin and tape to make sure that never happens. We have everything fitting and plugged in ready to screw it together, but there's still a problem. We've already cut out 3 of the screw points, and there's only 1 left. That definitely isn't going to be enough to hold this together. First, the WiiMote motherboard needs to be tight against the front. The screws in the middle achieved this before, so I'm going to 3D print a couple of washers and screw them in. Perfect. Nice and clicky. But that doesn't help us to hold the whole shell together. I did notice these 2 posts, but they don't have a screw in them originally. They also line up with these holes in the back shell. The most seamless thing to do here seems like to drill the holes for the screws, and then glue in a couple more 3D printed washers. These are really saving me here. Now, we've gone through every single potential problem I can think of. It's time to finish it off. I've taped the HD rumble motor to the battery cover on the WiiMote. This way the vibrations should feel just as good as in the Joy-Cons. The new screw locations actually look way cleaner than I was expecting. They're still quite noticeable for sure, but I think they could be mistaken for normal if you haven't seen a regular WiiMote in a while. I've also 3D printed a little cover for the base, since we removed the port before. That's number 1 fully completed. Well, we still have to test it. It connects just fine and feels actually pretty sturdy. But since we haven't got the right Joy-Con made yet, let's first test it in horizontal single Joy-Con mode to feel how it compares to Mario Kart on the Wii. Wireless is working fine, so let's see it in Mario Kart World. This is exactly what I had hoped it feels like. The button layout is absolutely perfect for Mario Kart. This is sick, genuinely. We'll find out how some other games compare when we finish off the second Joy-Con. But after finishing one already, I'm certain we can do the second one faster, and maybe even a bit better. The main difference between the two is the thumbstick and the buttons. This time the stick is going to go where the speaker was. It feels like the perfect spot. And this time the cut is a little smaller and I Dremel a bit more space from the back too. This will help it to sit much more flush. The rail has to be on the left side here. Thankfully this time I know exactly what to do. But the buttons, not so much. We'll find out how good my mapping choices are when we do the final test. And right when it was about to be finished off, our new screw posts aren't working. For some odd reason they are slightly bigger on the red shell, so the screw is just rattling around in place instead of pulling the shell together. My best idea to fix this is to fill the screw hole with epoxy, then put the screws in and keep it clamped until it dries. We'll still be able to open it back up if we have to, The epoxy will harden along the thread of the screw, so we'll unscrew and re-screw later just fine. And that is build complete. 100% Switch 2 compatible WiiMote Joycons, or WiiCons. I'm super happy with how these turned out. Thankfully no Switch 2 Joycons were harmed in the making of this video. Every button, the thumbsticks, gyro, Bluetooth, HD rumble, all fully functional. They feel even better than I thought they would, and they look exactly how I had pictured. Honestly, I'm not even mad that this is now my only pair of Joy-Cons. And now for the most important part. How do they play in-game? I think the obvious choice is Mario Galaxy, with 2 Wiimotes. Exactly how God intended. And of course we have to try Switch Sports. The second one isn't quite out yet, but you bet I'm going to play it on day 1 with these things. One last thing I'll definitely change is the B button on the back. Right now it's mapped to the R button, but it makes way more sense for it to be mapped to the ZR trigger instead. As it is now, bowling with the minus button feels very, very wrong. But apart from that, they are pretty much perfect. They feel miles more comfortable than the Joy-Cons. It's really night and day. Frutica Aero wins once again. So, we beat Nintendo to it. Project 100% success. What do you guys think? Do they need any changes or upgrades, or even a version 2 at some point? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like the video so I know you want to see more ridiculous projects just like this. Goodbye.